spends 8 hours a day training to be the finest racer in all of Italy. But
Woody
has a problem. He's not in Italy. He's in
the soul of Detroit.
Papa! Ciao, Papa!
And he's not Enrico Gimondi.
I should have hit him when I had the chance. He'd be dead now.
Oh, grazie, Tante Santa Maria.
He's
Woody Woodruff.
He was as normal as pumpkin pie, and now look at him.
But Woody's not crazy.
He's never tired. He's never miserable.
He's on the road to adulthood.
When I was young, I was tired and miserable.
You are numero uno, King Papa.
And he's decided to take a little detour.
To the soul of Detroit.
You asked interrogative questions around my face. Go on.
What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Did you miss me?
Always.
I thought so.
That's an unfamiliar voice.
Did those of you listening this week who didn't listen last week miss me? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. All I know is that you were off last week, but you called in and left us a message saying we sucked.
That wasn't me.
I confess, I didn't listen to you last week
See,
at all.
there's a man of discriminating tastes and discerning distinction. That's, of course, Woody Woodruff from Fox 2, who's joining us here on the Soul of Detroit with the recovering from some sort of plague, Mark Fellhauer, and Sean Windsor, who is his head's just coming down from being in a big chair. He was walking around Ann Arbor, I guess, telling people, don't make eye contact with me, and this coffee's not hot enough. And then they'd heat it up for me and say, this coffee's too hot. And then he'd say, I don't think the foam is quite high enough on there. I like kind of a meringue if you got that here. And, of course, it's Ann Arbor, so they all do have that kind of coffee.
Are you finished?
God, that was a long way.
It was. I wasn't. After one word,
special.
He did. I have one word for you: projection, baby. Okay.
What about
that's
unity?
2 words. That's 2 words.
What about
projection?
Now let me just say this, Sean.
You're assuming I would act like you would if the reverse were true.
You want everyone to come together, and here you attack me. I guess we will need that world.
No, everyone but you.
Try and get the world you want. Is that what it takes? An apocalypse for Sean Windsor to be happy?
Where was I a week ago?
I was going to say, you were happy
Saturday
a week
night.
ago.
A week ago Saturday night.
You were not in the studio with me at Fox 2.
I don't know where you were, but
I was at Mike Elrick's, ML.
I think that was 2 weeks ago, but
okay, whenever. I was in his backyard.
Oh, you see, now you're bringing up something that I am upset about because I missed the Yardie, and
We just come down from his bed. We just come down from his bedroom, and we were sitting there having a post, whatever beverage.
Well, I don't remember
having a nice moment. And now listen to him. He's acting like we don't know each other.
Well, I do remember Sean last week because I did listen to the show. Somebody had to, and I noticed that he mentioned that he brought over some Shiner Bock, but he neglected to mention that there are only 5 beers in the 6-pack. So I think what really happened is Sean brought some beer for himself, left it behind.
Now here's what happened. I put the 6-pack in his convertible, right?
Yes.
What kind of convertible is that, by the way?
An old one.
1962 Pontiac Tempest.
And it's white. I'm not going to say what color it is because he'll say I can't say that next week.
It's white. It has a red interior.
Yes, it does. Right. Yes, it does. And I thought, this would be a nice. This would be a nice place to leave it when everybody goes. Maybe later in the night, the next morning, he'll see it. It's a nice little surprise, right? And I went and surveyed all the beers there, and I thought, okay, whatever. I'm going to go back, and he won't mind if he gives me now one of his Shiner Bocks. I just didn't ask for permission. I'm sorry. You forgive me?
So I think after all that falderall, what we found out is Sean brought a 5-beer 6-pack.
Beer snob.
Yeah, that's the kind of guest we're talking about. He's 1 beer short of a 6-pack. It's an apt euphemism.
Anybody else leave beer in your car?
You know what? I think I remember one year you had to bring the worst beer you could get.
Yeah, that's how it used to be back when he was a little.
No, it's supposed to be.
I think I still have a can of Pilsner.
Oh God, we should have
with the crazy label and all that.
Yeah.
Just one can. It's been in the fridge for I think 3 years.
No, that was
aging it.
Yeah,
Mark, you haven't been there, right? But Woody knows this.
I've been there.
It used for that party.
It's
for that
not
party,
like whiskey, Woody. The
it
older
used to be
gets,
a
it doesn't
party.
get better.
It used to
Value
be a
does
party
not go
that
up.
we would pretend, hey, let's bring beer that quote sucks and we'll be cool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do know exactly.
Anti-establishment, whatever. Anti-brewery, local brewery.
You mentioned collections of spirits and things like that. You know what? I have, at my house. It's in a 1971 Indianapolis 500 decanter. I believe it's Jim Beam.
Oh wow!
Now,
that
my
might be
question
worth something.
is it still good?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Is the beam in there still good?
There's only one way to find out.
I understand, and you know what? Maybe this is the group that should sample it.
I
but,
would have no problem sampling.
I'll have to crack the seal on that. I don't want to mess it up for the collectability of it.
Does that have AJ Foyt's picture on the cover? Or?
It has his car.
Oh, it does.
Yes, it has his car, and it's raised. It's really nice decanter, but the beverage inside scares me a little bit.
Well, I think as long as it hasn't been sitting in the sun, it should be okay.
It's been in a cool, dry place, like a book.
Oh, yeah.
But still.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to consult our man Eric McGee at Eric Olson.
Let me know what
McGee.
you find out. Let me know
I'll
what you
ask
find
him.
out. Yeah.
He may be listening, so we'll have to check.
Right.
Eric, if you're listening, send us a text. Thomas McGee's Sporting House and Whiskey Bar. That's our go-to expert on all distilled and decanted beverages. But our expert on a very strange obsession. So if you know Woody from Fox 2, you know he's a man about town. You know he's a man who knows his stuff. But some of the stuff he knows you don't know unless you've been watching. And this is a guy who went to the U in the crazy days, who's seen a few things. But these days, his obsession is, of all things, the Tour de France. How did this happen? This is
look.
I know you look great in the biker shorts.
That's an added benefit for the
Okay.
ladies.
Okay.
I mean, I do get that all the time. Like, Woody, when are you going to put on the shorts again? Don't worry about it.
The leather crotch. That's always.
Actually, it's padded under there.
It's padded.
A lot of foam, a lot of gel under there because the seat you're sitting on is very hard, very
I've seen
slim.
those. Yeah.
But my obsession with the Tour really comes out of trying to bridge the gap at work. Okay, because when the Red Wings season ends and the Pistons season ends, it's usually just Tiger baseball. And when you get into some of the days that we've had with Tiger baseball, the dog days start earlier and earlier. So I needed something else to bridge the gap between the ending of those two sports and the start of Lions training camp. And 3 weeks of the Tour de France fits the bill magnificently. Now it started out as, I'll do this and just, let it go because I was a big Lance Armstrong fan and, you couldn't tell me anything different. Like people would say he was dope and no way I'd defend him to the end until he finally, came through. And then I was like heartbroken about, what he had done and how he had been lying the whole time. But it has not dulled my love for the sport. I look at it as something that everybody can do. Everybody can ride a bike. So, it doesn't matter. You notice in my clips, I'm not on a racing bike. I'm on a mountain bike. Okay. I make it look, cheesy just to say, hey, look, because I could jazz it up a little bit. I mean, you put me in the full suit and, out on the road.
The Maillot jaune.
The Maillot jaune, exactly. You got to work on your French here, ML.
I learned it in France. Let me get back to those guys.
But I could doll it all up and dress it up like that, and maybe one day I will. But first, I have to find maybe a bike. I might have to get that underwritten somewhere because I don't have
the basket off the front of it.
Yeah, or the little dog bell that ding-a-ding-a-jingling. Yeah. I may have to get that off of there. But in the meantime, it's a cool deal. It's international. I mean, if you like soccer, if you like British Open, I don't see why you wouldn't like Tour de France. I mean, you may not know some of the guys in there, but then again, I don't know some of the guys in the British Open.
What kind of bike do you have?
What kind of bike do I have? Okay. The one that you see me ride is a Cannondale. It's a mountain bike, and I got it in a raffle.
Nice.
In a Bud Light raffle. You'll notice the bike has Bud Light graphics
Bonus.
on it.
Yeah.
And it's red, white, and blue. I got it in a raffle.
Perfect for rehydrating.
Take it off any sweet jumps.
Exactly. No, I can take it off of sweet jumps. That is correct, Napoleon. I can take it off of sweet jumps, and I have done that before.
So,
dang, you got shocks?
No shocks. No
Oh,
shocks. We just
bummer.
let it go like that.
Now,
But,
did it take you a while to understand what the hell is going on?
Okay.
Because I think most people watch a race and they just say, here's a start, here's an end, whoever's the fastest wins.
okay.
But cycling is just so weird.
Cycling is based on time. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how it goes. So if you're in the lead, you are, setting the pace as far as time goes. You'll notice that on some of the stages, you'll see like 10 guys break away and, head
The
off.
attack.
Those guys are probably an hour behind the leader. So you can afford to let those guys go 20 minutes down the road. You know what I mean? If they pick up 20 minutes, fine. They're still 40 minutes behind you. There's no way that they're going to, win unless something happens to you. Like if you have a broken bicycle or you fall off the side of a mountain or, those kinds of things. That's when you start to lose time. But the race is actually 4 races in one. Okay. You race for the yellow jersey, which is the overall race. You race for the green jersey, which goes to sprinters because there are sprint points on every stage where if you reach that point first, you'll get points and then you can wear the green jersey. Same is true with the polka dot mountain King of the Mountains jersey.
That's a Lance Armstrong.
If you're up in the mountains, and you're the first one past these checkpoints, you get points for that too. So if you're really good, like Lance and like Tadej Pogacar, the current champion he's collecting all of these jerseys. He's, because he's
Did it take you a while to understand that?
First.
Or understand like what a peloton is and how they
Well,
race?
you know what? It does take a little bit. I mean, because if you just jump right in, you don't know, what a peloton is.
You're just looking for accidents.
Or
to
you
watch.
don't, right. Yeah. You're looking for, it's like NASCAR.
Yeah,
you watch it,
100%.
you're looking for crashes. I mean, but as you go along, you find out what an echelon is. You know what I mean? You find
What
out.
is an echelon?
An echelon is when the wind blows at you from across the road instead of behind you. So if the wind is blowing at you from across the road, it becomes a diagonal line as each rider stays behind the other guy to block some of that wind. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right.
And what is a peloton other than something people bought?
A peloton is a fancy name for the main field of bike riders.
Yeah.
like the pack.
Like the pack.
Okay.
Okay. There's other names as well, like the Gruppetto.
Ooh.
Now the Gruppetto is for the group that is way
Pinocchio's
off the back.
dad.
Those guys who are just hanging on, because in the Tour, you may not know this, there is a time limit. You have to finish within a certain amount of time of that stage's winner, or else you cannot start the next day.
Oh.
So they're in the Gruppetto in the back. It's like time down to the second for these guys, where they can just coast through, do the minimum amount of work, and be able to start the next day.
Okay.
Like a guy like Mark Cavendish, who is now tied with legendary Belgium rider Eddie Merckx for 34 career stage wins. He was going for 35 in the final stage on Sunday, did not make it. But he will sit back in the Gruppetto on the mountain stages because, of course, he's not a climber. He's a sprinter. So he can finish within the time and then go to the next day and start.
So confusing.
And it's a team sport, but individuals win, right?
It is a team sport, and individuals do win, but individuals don't win without help from the team.
Right.
And usually what happens is you can have one guy out there riding his head off, right? Okay. But he needs teammates to help set a pace for him, or else he's just going to burn himself out. Now,
Don't they have like a daily lineup too? Aren't you allowed like 9 riders, but there's more on the team that they swap in and out? Or am I totally wrong on that?
You cannot swap anybody in or out. No.
Okay.
The 8 riders that you start with, it used to be 9. Now it's 8. The 8 riders you start with are the 8 riders you finish. In fact, Team Jumbo-Visma from France, they finished with only 4 guys.
Really?
Because
Why do they decide who gets to win?
4 other guys crashed out.
How do they decide who gets to win out of that team? That's not
each
very
team.
fair.
Each team has their own like lead guy. Okay, like let's take it back to Lance Armstrong days. Okay, he was the lead guy for U.S. Postal.
Yeah.
Okay. Now he had 7 other guys around him working as like domestiques, which would be like to set pace and to
Provide
chase
blood.
down. Yeah. Provide blood. Yes, you can do all
Spare
that.
testicles.
Yeah, if you needed one.
If you blow a tire.
But as the team leader, okay, the guys on the team are working to help you out. Now, if all of a sudden your team leader goes down, well, then your tactics change and you can either support another guy, or maybe if you feel strong enough, now the whole thing is about winning stages because maybe you're too far behind to win the overall, setting. So there's races within races.
So if we had a team here,
yes,
or they may call it a Giro.
Yes.
Right? Okay, good.
Okay.
Show off.
So, not French, but, and Sean is our lead rider.
Right.
And you're the mountain guy. So you win a stage in the mountain. Does Sean get the points or does the team get the points? And Mark obviously would be the sprinter being,
No. What would happen is if I'm the mountain climber and I'm in the mountains and I pass the checkpoints in the mountains before Sean does, I get the points.
Okay. But the team, can the team win?
The team wins by having jersey holders on the team. That's their claim to fame. It's not like there used to be team competitions where how many stages you won as a team.
Yeah.
Then you'd be high in the team competition.
I love how passionate you are about this.
But so it's not like a relay where the four of us, if we all do our part, the team wins. It's if there's four of us in the Tour de France and we win, you win. Or no, Sean would win because he'd be our leader.
Well,
I would never be the leader.
Well, that's
if Sean.
This is a theater of the mind.
If Sean was the leader, okay, then we would expect Sean to be maybe near the top of the general classification. Okay, so we would expect him to be, if he was one of the leaders of our team, we'd expect him to be like maybe 2-3 minutes, maybe even 20 seconds behind the race leader because he's that good.
So
right? Now we would all support Sean in riding, and, by providing drinks and stuff on the road that you get from people, and all that kind of stuff. There's all kinds of stations on the road where, your team is there to help you. I mean, these guys, they ride in a big bus.
I'll drive the car
from spot to spot on tiny French roads. So it's, like it's a caravan.
I'll provide the food.
And it goes right through the whole country for 3 weeks. It's beautiful.
So it's like if the Packers win the Super Bowl, only Aaron Rodgers is the champion.
If the Packers, you're right. If the Packers win the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers is the guy who's holding the trophy.
Okay.
That would be it.
Now you've been to France, right, to watch?
Correct. I've been to France a couple of times. I've been to a town called Blagnac, which is down near the the border with Spain. I was going to say. And it's over near.
That must be the Alps,
near the
right?
Pyrenees.
Oh, Pyrenees.
The Pyrenees are down near Spain. The Alps are over near Italy.
This is what I don't get about it because you go to a NASCAR IndyCar event and the cars keep going by. On a bicycle race, they go by once.
They go by once. Exactly.
So is it a party?
Right.
Is that what you're there for? Is it a party, or do you see them go by once and that's the end of the day?
This is why I recommend it. If you're going to go to see a stage of the Tour de France, go to a start town. Because when the tour comes into the start town, it comes in like a big carnival. It has rides, it has events. They put up like pop-up towns almost. And, all the riders have to sign in to a book to start the stage. Now, the book used to be you write your name, but now it's electronic where you go up and you press your face and it comes up on the board. And all the people can see this. And so you're cheering your riders as they come up. They wave, the whole thing like that. If you're on the side of the road watching a mountain stage, that's a lot more difficult because you've had to start early in the morning to get out to the mountain.
You've had to climb,
from wherever you are.
Yeah.
You have to go up to whatever spot you want to be on the mountain. Then they close the roads, because you can't have traffic going up the mountain. Then you're on your own.
That sounds awful.
For the whole day. So that's why you can't really find a camper or any kind of recreational vehicle in France during that time. They're all rented out, all of them.
Well, I mean, it's a huge, and it is kind of nuts to see all these fans around this road as this,
on a tight road on the side of a mountain going up, and you've seen it where they're so close to you, you're getting hit and slapped and the whole thing, and
But that leads to the biggest story that happened this year in the Tour de France is the lady with the cardboard sign that said, "Hi, Grandma." I didn't even know that was stage one.
Stage number one.
And there's some people out there that feel like it was a piece of cardboard. Why did it take everybody out?
Well,
would you like to respond to those people? Some people who are maybe upstairs right now who are laughing at that person that fell.
I can respond to that. One thing is that when you're riding in the peloton, you're not really looking ahead of you. You're looking more down because to ride in a group okay, like that is difficult. A touch of wheels with the guy in front of you or anything like that, you might lean over a little bit and, touch another guy. He might, hold you up like an easy guy, that kind of thing. But it's difficult to ride in a group. So when all of a sudden something comes out of nowhere, okay, and you run into it and it turns your wheel, you go down, the guy behind you goes down. It's a domino effect because the guys in the back of the peloton definitely cannot see what happened up here. So all of a sudden you hear brakes squeaking and so it's like, 35 miles an hour.
Has that happened? Has that happened other times? Like that lady who took him out with that cardboard sign?
There have been other times where fans have been the cause of crashes. We've seen,
well, that's kind of unique and fun.
We've seen, let's see, for lack of a better term, the straps from a camera or a flag. We've seen those get wrapped around handlebars because guys are coming around curves and people are standing there with their flags over it. You get caught up in the handlebar, down you go. So it can be dangerous. But, as a fan, just keep your distance. I tell people all the time, stay off the road.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the whole thing. Stay.
You don't want to be that idiot
road
that now all of France is looking for, and they want to.
Well, they found that lady, and they did arrest her, and she is on trial. The tour dropped charges, but I think that the town, which was Lindenmere,
throw the book at her,
Lindenmere or something like that, they still press charges about trespass and things like that, even though it's a wide open road, but you can't be on it.
With that access to the athletes, do you ever see someone try and sabotage a rival team, like putting a baguette through the spokes or something?
No, but there have been idiots who have thrown tacks on the road.
A day-old baguette.
Who've thrown tacks across the road, and you see riders with flat tires, out of nowhere, because there's tacks on the road.
That's like speed racer shit.
It is. It's stupid, okay? But again, some people try to do that. It's
well, the whole
it could be anybody, like a guy who doesn't want the tour coming through his town.
Oh,
so he throws tacks on the road.
The local sorehead,
right? The local idiot. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's an element of danger
because those towns, they lobby for the stages. It's not.
So the route changes every year.
The route changes every year, except for a few iconic spots. Like they'll always go to the Alps. Yeah. They'll always go to the Pyrenees. They'll always finish in Paris. But I think next year the Grand Depart is in Copenhagen, where this year it was in Brest, which is on the other side of the country in Brittany.
That's Drew Lane is a Brest man, so
I can totally understand how
big fan of cycling.
How that would be he would be involved in that. Yes,
big fan of cycling.
So you were a big fan of Lance Armstrong?
Yes,
not anymore.
Yes.
That soured you on him?
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with Lance.
Have you ever met him?
I never interviewed him. And you know what? If I meet the guy, I think my disappointment would shine through. That was years of lying.
Yeah.
Come on.
And he wrecked some people who tried to
and he wrecked
forward.
Some people who tried to come forward. The Andreus specifically. Frankie and Betsy, specifically Betsy, is still pissed about all that.
She should be.
And rightly so. But
do you think he helped the sport or did he damage it?
I have to think he damaged it.
But he raised so much awareness as to what was going on. That's the weird thing about Livestrong, too. It raised so much awareness.
Yeah,
I think he also raised awareness of how rigged the sport could be. I mean, going back to Greg LeMond, I don't think you heard those sorts of things. And then after that,
it was like a culture
that
made its way in. And, guys were bringing full closets of blood to switch
oxygen-rich
out and
blood,
oxygenated blood and all kinds of stuff.
Now you have hidden motors. Don't they have hidden motors, some of them? Haven't they been busted?
You know what, Mark? Last year, I didn't see it done this year, but last year there were officials with heat sensors riding past the peloton, shooting the heat sensors down at the bikes to see if there was extra wattage coming out, from the bikes, because now there are, bicycles with motors in them. So yeah, you don't want to get caught doing any of this. You want to be clean doing it. But again, with Lance and those guys, I mean, it was just a culture of, everybody's doing it. So
I've always wondered if I have what it takes to be a champion. And when I heard about nightly transfusions, I thought, I don't have that.
I don't have that either.
But maybe you get to a point where you do so many things to get to that point, and somebody says, now you got to do transfusions. You're like, well, shit, I've already done these other 10 things, so I may as well swap out my blood.
Maybe at that point, that's what the thinking was. But I don't see how I could never do that. I could never sit there. Okay, I gotta switch out my blood with come on, dude.
Did you ever see the ESPN 30 for 30 Slaying the Badger? I think it was about Greg LeMond.
And Bernardino.
Okay, there you go. So you saw that. Mm-hmm. It's just really interesting to me because one of the first things in addressing the whole Lance Armstrong thing is Greg LeMond said his mom came to him and said, "How do we help our son not be an asshole?" So he was like, "Well, that's kind of a weird thing," and he knew right away that they were doping, but chose not to say anything. Are you surprised at that? Because I would think he would, at least behind the scenes, maybe raise the flag. Like, look,
maybe that flag was raised behind the scenes. I don't know.
And they chose to ignore, kind of like steroids in baseball?
Exactly. Maybe everybody's choosing to turn a blind eye because everybody's doing it. You know what I mean? So I don't know how to answer that.
That's really interesting. Do you think are other people doping, other teams doping, right? Back then?
In cycling?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were plenty.
So he was the best doper and the fastest doper.
Maybe. But, it's like, okay, was Barry Bonds the best home run hitter on steroids, or was it Sammy Sosa, or was it McGwire?
He'd be a Hall of Famer if he didn't take roids.
True. And you know what? Lance Armstrong would probably be, the most iconic cyclist ever if he didn't take drugs. Yeah.
When he was on
then again, would he have won?
As long as no one else was taking drugs, right?
As long as the playing field was level. You're absolutely right, Sean.
In a weird way, I understand why I did. He was such an asshole to everybody else. Now, that's the problem.
The arrogance of Lance is something that was on display later in his career, because when he got out of cycling, okay, and all of these things were still just whispers and rumors, you didn't have any concrete proof. When he came back into cycling, that reopened the window for the statute of limitations. Oh. So now they could go back and check all this stuff. Had he not come back, he probably would still have all the jerseys on his wall, because the talk would be there, but there would be no actual physical, proof of it.
He was still great in dodgeball. I got to give him that. So it was an all-time great cameo. It was definitely top 10.
It was.
That ESPN documentary on him is, once again, watching it's just like, I just don't like this guy aside from all the doping.
Mm-hmm. And the personality comes in. Okay, the guy's an idiot. The guy's an asshole. Whatever you want to call him, but he was one of the best bike riders that this country has had. Now, this country is producing a few more quality riders. We saw 4 in the Tour this year. Brandon McNulty.
No one knows, though. That's the problem. Why can't they?
You're gonna start to know a few guys. Okay. Number 1, Sepp Kuss. Okay, this kid is from Durango, Colorado. He won stage 15 at the Tour this year. The first American rider to win a stage in 10 years.
Wow.
So there are guys who are making that leap.
Is there a big American race?
Yeah, the Tour of Utah, the Tour of California, the Tour. I've
never heard of any of those.
There are tours here in the U.S. They usually last for a week. It's usually a 5-day thing. But a grand tour like the Tour de France or the Giro d'Italia or something like that.
Why don't we have one of those races here? Why don't we have a month-long race here?
You know what? I don't know why. I really don't know why. I think because the Tour de France is the Super Bowl of cycling. So how can you get bigger than that? It
could be the AFC Championship of cycling.
Well, you could see some of these.
It would help.
You could see some of these lower races. That's where I first saw Sepp Kuss. In the Tour of California.
I love that you've been to all these. That's great.
I haven't been there. I just watched.
Okay, watched. I love how involved you are in it.
It's not just that, though, Woody. Right? It's who likes racing over there, and the difference over here. It's a little bit like soccer used to be.
Totally.
So soccer was beloved here first by what a lot of working class folks would say elitists.
Mm-hmm.
Cycling over there, as far as I know, my neighbor who loves the Tour de France is from the Netherlands, and he explained to me a long time ago it was the working man sport in Europe.
Everybody loves it.
Exactly.
In Europe.
And
everybody.
And here, if you like cycling, especially before Lance Armstrong, you were seen as kind of an elitist, a progressive, whatever, right?
Almost like in the film that you guys showed on the way in here, Breaking Away, where it was that type of, you got your nose in the air, you
exactly.
want to be Mr. Italiano, this. No, it's hardcore if you really want to get into it.
Or you were like my brother, who was kind of a dude who always went his own way. The thing about cycling is if you just want to get out there on a bike, it's almost like runners where you
or
just
skateboarders or something like that where it's a niche thing, but it's very specialized and there can be a lot of love for your niche sport.
Well,
whether it be skateboarding, cycling, soccer, golf. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. When I was playing baseball, he would show up at the games after a ride. And this was the 80s, so he had like this long feathered hair.
Probably a painter's cap on.
Yeah. The crazy jersey, the black biker shorts with the leather crotch pad.
Yep.
And we all wore metal spikes then, so you could hear us walking around on the dugout. But every once in a while, you'd hear like a clip clop, and like, what the hell is that? It's like, oh, Elric's brother's here. He had the wooden shoes that would click into the pegs.
Yeah, you got to clip into the pegs.
So
exactly.
Like, scrape, clip, clop. And so, oh, hey, my brother's here. What's going on, man? Just went for a 50-mile ride. How's it going?
Look, you know what? It's just something that I've just come to love. Okay, I mean, the tour is cool. Like I said before, it's something that anybody can do. So, maybe next year I'll do my opens on a tricycle and just work my way up. Tricycle, training
big
wheels.
Wheel?
No, well, not a big wheel. I'm trying to keep it as bicycle, but, work my way up that way or something like that.
We'll have to get Zach Pashik working on something over at Detroit Bikes. Actually, I wonder if they could sponsor a ride. That would be kind of cool. Like, what would the equivalent be of a 5K?
There is something called the Tour Detroit.
Okay. Yes, I've heard about that, but that's more like
it's
a
more
slow roll
thing.
Of,
I've been on that too, and that's more of a slow roll. They have different lengths you could go. I think one is like 50 miles. There's another like 100 miles or something like that. But
I remember when they used to do something on Belle Isle where it was a serious endurance race.
Where you went out and worked around.
Laps.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. I mean, that was like a one-time thing. I haven't heard much revival of that kind of a thing.
Is it a college sport?
Cycling?
Yeah. Do they have college teams?
I have not heard of college teams. I've always heard of, like club teams and things like that, where you go down to the velodrome here, even in Detroit, where there are teams, that guys are on. But I don't think there's a Michigan team or a Michigan State cycling team or
it's probably a club sport.
It just seems that's where a lot of sports grow.
True, in the college area, but a lot of the guys coming out and the young guys in the sport are now like between say 20 and 24 maybe. Those are the young guys who are competing for like the young rider jersey and things like that. In fact, I'll give you another name, Jonas Vingegaard. He's from Denmark, and he was the guy who was wearing the white jersey because, let me just throw this out there, as a leader in the Tour de France, if you're wearing the yellow jersey, and like I said, say you've already won the polka dot and the green, you can only wear one jersey at a time. So the second place guy in those disciplines gets to wear the jersey during the stages.
Oh my God.
So like where
it's a lot to keep track of.
Say I'm Tadej Pogacar and I have the yellow jersey on during the stage, but I also have the polka dot jersey. The second place guy in the polka dot standings is wearing my polka dot jersey for the stage.
Why is it sponsored?
The sponsors all want to see it. Yeah, they all want to see their jerseys in the races.
Money.
They all want to see it. So yeah.
So based on your hat, I'm assuming you're good in the mountains. You got the polka dots.
You know what? I've got a hat for every occasion, my friend. I've got the yellow. I've got this one. I don't have a green one, but I've got one with green on it. All over the place, man. All over the place.
He's ready for every stage.
I'm ready. And after we were in the start town of Blagnac a couple of years ago, my wife and I, after it was all over, we went down the street and had pizza right there outside of on some sidewalk cafe thing and said, "Oh, that was fun, wasn't it? Ready to go back home?" We drove like 2.5 hours, pizza. 2.5 hours on French roads with a French GPS that only spoke French, and I was like, "Honey, if we're off that blue line for any reason, you let me know." In fact, on the way back, we got off the blue line, and I had to take another route that had maybe 60 roundabouts.
Right.
Because that's all it is in France, roundabouts.
And you're stopping for goats and people on carts, and there's still a lot of people on bikes in Europe. So, you're like, dude, get out of the way. Like, I'm on a bike.
Yeah,
Who are you in a car? Get out of the way.
I have the right of way.
I just wanted Woody to tell Mark that it's okay. He can understand it because he understands football with 22 people at any given time and an infinite number of variations, right?
Yes.
Oh, I would understand how somebody could not, if they just came over here, would not understand American football.
Or baseball.
You're right.
It's amazing with baseball. My neighbors don't understand baseball.
If you dip somebody right in just out of nowhere and said, "Okay, here's baseball," they'd be like,
I know. We take it for granted. It looks fairly simple, but
football, it looks like rugby, but
there's so
what
many
do I know?
rules. There's just so many.
It's the rules
and rules and rules.
Well, same thing. I saw a cricket match in Australia, and as long as you hit the ball, it's in play. So I see a guy like Shank when I'm like, okay,
foul ball,
new batter. No, he's gonna bat all day.
Right.
Like, this guy hasn't hit a decent ball all day.
I don't.
Guys
understand.
are rolling him on the grass to him. They're like, oh, he's a spin bowler. He's the best. I was like, he hasn't thrown a strike since I got here. It's been 6 hours.
I've never understood rugby where you have the wooden things that are set up.
Cricket, the wicket.
Cricket.
Yeah.
And what if you hit that? I mean, what happens? I mean, because I'd be looking to hit that all the time.
Yeah. No, you're out. If you hit it.
You have to bounce the ball.
Yeah, you can skip it, you can spin it, you can do all kinds of shit.
That's weird, man.
Yeah,
I agree. It's
crazy.
You know what? Confusing. I should be talking, right? The cycling guy. That's weird, man.
There's a reason that folks play basketball around the world and not American football and baseball.
Yeah.
Well, a little baseball.
Soccer's very easy to
follow. Right.
And
Same thing.
So when I was at this cricket match, it was raining, and of course I'm cheap. So I went to the souvenir stand to get a hat.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing they had that didn't look ridiculous looked like a baseball hat and had like a little flap on the back. And it was the cheapest thing too. So I bought it.
Uh-huh.
Sounds about right.
I tucked the flap under the back. It was like a
Sherlock Holmes type of hat.
No, it looked like a baseball hat, but it had a little curtain on the back, like in the French Foreign Legion or something.
I've seen those.
Yeah, so I tucked that out. So I make it. I'm thinking, okay, it kind of looks like a baseball cap. So I put it on, and I'm walking around Melbourne Stadium. I'm like, I look pretty good in a baseball hat. It's cheap. I'm keeping my lid dry, and everybody's looking at me crazy as I walk by. It wasn't till far too late that I realized this was a child's hat that they put on babies. So I'm walking around, basically, 6'1", goofy looking guy in hiking shoes wearing a baby's hat.
He must be drunk. Yeah.
So, and I'd been backpacking for a while, so I probably didn't smell so good either.
No wonder it was so cheap.
Good story, and fairly quick.
The guy I stay away from on the hiking trail.
Well, I will say there were a lot of seats around me whenever I sat down. I was like, just welcome to Australia.
I'm impressed, my man. That week off did you some good. To the point, quick, funny, not too long. I love it.
It's because he listened to last week.
I thought we were going to do notes afterwards.
Okay, well.
Daddy approves. I'm putting that in my... There we go. Okay, cool. So
I think you did miss the sponsor.
That's father to you.
Oh yeah, no, I said so. Woody, thanks for coming. We should
don't leave yet.
Yeah. Before you go, I
have to go.
No. You're welcome to stay.
Oh, thanks.
We have a New Wave tribute to Woody coming up later in the show, but I want you to tell everybody about the cover band that you're threatening to start one of these days.
Oh, yes, I did mention that to you, didn't I?
We're at a Smiths United show.
Yes, we were at a Smiths United show, and I said, you know what, ML, I'm going to start a band called the Blacksmiths. Okay, just like that, a bunch of black guys playing Smiths music, and we're all dressed as blacksmiths, and it would be perfect. It would be perfect.
You could have an anvil as the symbol. It would be fantastic.
It would. Ting, ting. Oh man, I could see it now. Blacksmiths.
No more cowbell.
Do you like the Smiths?
But we need the Smiths. We need more anvil.
I love the Smiths, which is why I love Chris and those guys and Max and those guys in the Smiths United. Whatever incarnation you want to go through, I'm down with them.
Huh. So Max and the King's English are going to be playing at the Caju Cafe on Monday, the 26th.
See,
for a campaign fundraiser we're doing.
The guys are in other bands. Yeah. I don't even know that stuff.
Shasta Fox.
I am only single-minded. My focus is Smiths United. That's it.
Well, we may drag you out for one of the. Although I think one year, I know you anchor on Saturday. So
I have to. You have to give me a good heads up, so that I can put in for the day off.
Yeah. Well, it's July 9th next year.
Well, you know what? I thought it's usually the first weekend in July, correct?
It's the Saturday after 4th of July weekend, unless 4th of July runs in the middle of the week and they move the official holiday. It's very
Did you hear all that, Sean?
I'm trying not to.
How do you decipher all that?
I don't.
But July 9th,
I used to speak. I used to think I spoke Elric, but
I'm finding out that it's a whole different dialect.
It is.
Yes, in honor
lots
of
rules too.
In honor of the Smiths and their uplifting music, we will have the Mayo Noir for that stage.
You are probably the only one to say uplifting music because a lot of people would say, "Oh my God!" But look, you like what you like.
Yeah, but I mean, if you love somebody, what could be better than crashing a bus into an overpass?
Or maybe he didn't mean
right.
Maybe he didn't mean uplifting.
It's one way to be together forever.
Right.
So Woody's going to stick around.
Why not?
And we're gonna tell you who makes this show possible. Bad parenting and loneliness. But financially, financially, it is Roy O'Brien Ford, who you can find online at royobrien.com, where you can check out Fast Track, which lets you choose your vehicle and options. But that's not all. You can pick your deal. You can lease, finance, or cash, get the value of your trade-in. By the way, those values on trade-ins are very high right now. You can apply for financing and schedule delivery of your ride. They have just about everything now. The new Bronco, the E-Mustang, of course, F-150. Not sure when they're going to get the F-150 Lightning, but we're going to have to try and work out like a test drive because that looks like even Joe Biden looked sweet in the F-150 Lightning, and it wasn't just the aviator glasses. So if you're looking to get a good deal on a Ford or on a used car, or maybe trade in your car, maybe you just want to get a lease, check out Roy O'Brien Ford. They've been at the corner of 9 Mile and Mack for 75 years, one of the top dealerships in the Ford empire. To learn more, visit royobrien.com or call 888-566-5851. That's 888-566-5851. And be sure to tell them that Woody wants you to ride your bike over there, but drive home.
I got a question. They got them fancy electric cars over there?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, don't they?
Yeah. No illegal electric bikes.
Mustang?
No.
They follow the rules at Roy's place,
there you go.
sure. So let's see. Where are we now? Okay, here's the part where we hype how awesome I am, which we got to. We got to kind of late because Sean was causing trouble.
You're awesome.
But, see, Woody, you're welcome anytime, man. So last night, Gary Brown and Sue McCormick, the leaders of Detroit Water and Sewage Department, the Great Lakes Water
They're not
Authority,
as good as you, though.
Well, they have aspirations.
They have aspirations.
And
exactly.
someday, if they eat their vegetables, they may get there.
I have one word again: hustle, please.
Well, I was moving quite quickly until somebody interrupted me.
That was me.
Sean held up his "I miss you, Grandma" sign there, and I got knocked. Off the
stay off the road
position in the Peloton. That's
Maybe you should look
off
up once in a while.
That's my fault.
He was looking for some Gruyere, and I think he said a little Dijon.
You could just say cheese.
I could say that, but so anyways, last night they were out there in East English Village talking about the flooding, and we're still trying to get some straight answers on what caused the flood. It looked like some pumps were down. It looked like there was a power issue that kept some of the pumps from coming on and from all the pumps functioning. They're still investigating, but one of the things I was very happy to hear is when the flooding hit my home and the homes of so many other people, we got to work right away coming up with some solutions because we want to try and not just wait for them to improve the system, which will take years and billions of dollars, and then they'll make us pay for that. But we proposed some things like backflow preventers, sump pumps, and then as our research expanded, we started talking about things like bioswales and rain gardens, which is a natural way for the earth to absorb the water that's falling on us more and more frequently. And if the problem is the system is at capacity, this is a way for the earth itself to keep that water out of the system. So we don't need to increase the capacity of the system, which takes forever and costs a lot of money. We just need to find a safe way to keep the water out of the system. Well, Gary Brown said last night that the mayor has instructed him to try and find ways to pay for backflow preventers and sump pumps for people in the affected area. And after we got in the Q&A, he also said that endorsed essentially, without endorsing explicitly, our plan to try and find environmentally friendly, cheaper, and more expeditious ways to keep the water out of the system. So that was.
Isn't there a way to stop this before it even gets to the household part? I mean, it rains in other cities and they don't seem to flood all the time.
Well, Dearborn flooded. You flooded back in 2014.
Other metropolitan areas.
Presumably they have better ways to divert that water. I mean, if you're in Seattle and Portland, I imagine that you're expecting it to rain every damn day.
Sure.
So that's something that's part of your system. Whereas here, we don't expect these downpours. But if we're going to blame things on global warming, that's not going to be fixed anytime soon. So we need to start addressing some of those issues now. And I don't think more digging and more concrete and building bigger retention basins is the best or the most effective way. Certainly not the most expeditious way to try and get a handle on this.
But was there a failure at the pumping stations?
Yes, there were failures at the pumping stations. Some pumps didn't perform. Some pumps didn't come on. There was a power issue. We're told that it wasn't a manpower issue, like no one was there to see that things weren't working, so throw a switch. It's never quite that simple. Some of these pumps need to be primed with water, and so if the generators or the motors don't turn on and get water in them, then they can't do their thing. So then you have to find out where the fault is, get that going, get some water in the system, then the pumps can start working. I mean, everybody wants to look at this as just something simple, like Homer Simpson forgot to throw a switch at the Springfield nuclear power plant.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
My question is, wasn't maybe once upon a time, didn't they have their own power system to run those things?
Yeah, so
how come all of a sudden now they don't have the power supply to keep running that stuff? Did they take them off of that, or
no?
Something changed?
Yeah, so there's been so many changes in Detroit. We used to have the public lighting department, which now has basically been taken over by Edison, and they would run the pumps at the water plant. Now the Detroit Water and Sewage Department, which used to supply water to the entire southeastern Michigan area, like 4.3 million people, now they're just a retailer. All of the equipment and all these pumping stations and the machines have been turned over to the Great Lakes Water Authority, which now is responsible. So people who used to bitch at Detroit say, the water rates are too damn high. Well, now you can bitch at the Great Lakes Water Authority because Detroit doesn't own the water system anymore. We own the pipes in Detroit, and we're responsible for the pipes in Detroit. But for the regional water system, that is now something that we all own through the Great Lakes Water Authority. And one of the problems of these pumping stations and some of these pumps, some of this is like 1920s and 1930s technology, these great big turbines. And when you go to some of these facilities, you feel like you're in Batman, like Arkham Asylum, where you just see all these dark, shadowy, Gothic looking buildings. But the technology is a little complicated, and unlike more modern things that are probably more digital and more electronic, you have, it's almost like a Rube Goldberg device where if the ball doesn't roll down the chute, then the wheel doesn't spin, and then the guillotine doesn't chop off the mouse's head.
I'll be the dumb guy. Why don't they fix that first?
Well, because the way the system works is unless it fails, nobody's really thinking about it.
It's failed multiple times now over the past 7-8 years.
Well, so various parts have failed. So one of the issues is, you had pumping stations that failed on the highways. Well, that's a state issue. Now you
that was 2014, right? Wasn't that a big issue in 2014 when 75, 696 was flooded?
94,
it's because of those pumping stations around there. They seem to have fixed them because it hasn't flooded in those areas since. So why can't that?
We had highways shut down because of flood, and I don't know what the answer is.
In Oakland County?
No. Parts of 94 closed. It was closed for.
What I'm saying, Oakland County flooded bad in 2014, August 11, 2014. # never forget. But we haven't had that.
I thought that was for the Holocaust, but I guess the flooding is pretty bad too. This never forget stuff.
No, that was for September 11th.
Is this all some kind of bit? I'm confused.
My point being, isn't there a larger infrastructure?
Or is this a campaign stop?
Why does it always?
We went
happen?
from the Tour de France to what exactly?
It went from.
I'm confused.
Is your soup cold, sir? Do you want to send it back to the kitchen?
I was just waiting. Is this a pat on the back segment?
Well, it started off that way, but now somebody's telling us to get off their lawn.
No, I was just
kids
curious
today with their iPods and their crack cocaine.
I can help pat your back too if you want help doing that.
Your hands are a little more calloused from other unauthorized activities, but
you know what?
So, we came up with some solutions that people agree with, so we're awesome.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. What was that, Woody?
I was going to say we could say that we went from the Tour de France to warning people to watch out for their water because it's going to be the next thing that is going to be the most important. Like gas shortages or whatever. You just wait until you can't get any water.
Thank you for that synthesizing.
No problem.
Awesome. I'm not used to that.
No problem.
ML, did you flood again last week?
We did flood again last week, but it was
in
just
Shinerbach?
a couple inches. No, there wasn't enough Shinerbach in that 6-pack for a flood. There's just
those poor people,
enough for a buzz.
The poor people have to keep replacing their stuff. Another water heater, another washer dryer, another. Come on, man.
It's unacceptable.
So
it is.
So I know a family that is.
And you better do something about it if you want my vote.
I've already come up with a pretty reasonable solution. I was talking about it when Sean awoke, but
I'm sorry. Half hour is a long time.
I mean, so
anyway,
the things you had mentioned, those are nice things. I don't know how many of them are realistic, though. You think they're all realistic?
Mark, you're off the show.
Come on, Mr. Conservative over there. We can't do anything. We can't pull together. And
Backflow preventers and sump pumps are realistic. They do work. They have to be maintained, of course. You can't just put them in there and forget about them. But if you can't keep the water in the system, don't use my house as an overflow place. So that's what you do. You try and keep the water out. If it comes in, you push it out. You pump it out. Hence the sump pumps, or you have the backflow preventer in there so that when the system says, "Holy crap, we don't know where to put this,"
but you have a sump
it comes
pump,
to your
right?
house.
Don't you have a sump pump?
No,
you don't.
No, I'm not in a floodplain. I
have a sump pump and I flooded in 2014
from the water.
I mean, that didn't help then.
In 2014, did it come on?
My sump pump was running, yes.
Where did the water come from in your house? Did it come from the drains or did it come through the walls? Was there seepage?
No, it backed up. It was all storm and sewage. It backed up, and I have a toilet in my basement, so that was fun watching it come out of there.
Do you have a backflow preventer?
I do now. Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't in 2014.
No, but I had a sump pump. That didn't help at all.
Well, I mean, it probably pushed it out, but there's so much water, it's just kind of looping back in. That's why you need the backflow preventer so the water doesn't come in the first place. Ideally, you're not using a backflow preventer and a sump pump. If a backflow preventer works, as the name suggests, it stops the water from flowing back into your house.
My overall point, though, is I feel like why should we have to do that when it should just be able to keep pumping anyway?
Well, I'm saying that...
in other words, I have to fix my stuff.
I'm saying the Water Authority should pay for this.
Vote for a millage, or for taxes, I would say.
Or get a can of Flex Seal or something.
Oh, one of my favorite Rob Walchuk stories of all time was when he put the Flex Seal out there.
Thank you, Woody.
Yeah.
And then they sawed the boat together and but in true Rob Walchuk fashion, when they were testing whether the boat would hold water, he put somebody else in it.
He did. He did.
That's Rob. What a great idea. If this guy drowns, it's going to be a great part of my story. Flex Seal doesn't work. Sorry for less gold over at the pawn shop.
Perfect Walchuk. That's good.
So Mark, you want the infrastructure dealt with.
Yeah. Oh, I have.
So how do we do that though when we're not?
That's a long-term solution, and it's extremely expensive. It's much cheaper to put these mitigation things in than it is to say, "Well, we'll come up with another $17 billion."
You think it's going to work?
Yeah, but a lot of people are tired of little stopgap.
Yeah, it's the same with the electrical grid.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we just get everybody generators?
It's the difference between putting soul patch on the freeway and ripping the freeway up and doing it right and letting it drain.
Yeah.
I mean, after a while, driving over that freeway with all that soul patch is like listening to Mike.
Now, you thought this segment was going on too long, right? Because now you're throwing some stuff. I just want to...
all right. Well, what's next?
That's fine. You can equate 30 minutes to 30 seconds. That's good. In your world, in your little mind, big mind, rather, that's cool.
A vast expanse.
So, Sean, you want to pave over the freeways and create what magic carpet bypasses there?
No, he wants it fixed correctly.
Yeah, that's all.
Just like this water problem.
And I want you and people that are going to do what you do to convince all of us that it's in our best interest if we help or agree to pay taxes or something that's a little bit outside of what we see in our daily life. In other words, on the other side of town even, or in the next community, right?
Well, that's the one good... People don't like the Great Lakes Water Authority, but the one good thing about us all being part of the same system is now we are all in the same boat together. It's not just, well, Detroit had to do something.
Literally.
People hammer on Detroit. Mm-hmm. But that's why... See, to me, I think the thinking on this whole thing is wrong. This notion of we have to build bigger facilities and bigger pumps and all that other stuff. What we need to do is find a way to absorb this water. And in Detroit, where people bitch about vacant land, and some of the vacant land really is a blight because it's not maintained, you can turn those into rain gardens, bioswales, where they actually become a beautiful, self-sustaining thing that actually helps us in the immediate term deal with this water. They are designed and built to hold the water and dissipate it naturally, as opposed to we're just going to pump it through a plant, through machines, they're going to treat it with chemicals, and they're going to blow it out into the water. If you don't have a bathtub that's big enough to hold the water, then what you do is you don't put too much water in the bathtub, but it's got to go somewhere. So you put it someplace that it can go safely. And we have vacant land. This is something where Detroit, with the vacant land, we look at this as a crisis, but actually it also presents an opportunity.
That's great, but I still agree with Mark's point that we need to update or modernize Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
And it takes money.
If
you want to make money,
it takes time. I've flooded twice in 3 weeks.
He's trying to segue.
No, I know, but this notion of
he's going from collectivism to capitalism. We need to do it.
Let's be realistic here. Yes, it wouldn't have flooded if we had a better pump station and a better basin. Fantastic. You know what it's going to take for us to get that? Billions of dollars and 10 years. I don't want to wait 10 years.
Let's do both.
And hope that we don't get the next rain.
Let's just do both. Your idea is great.
If you do the first one, you don't have to do the second one.
Eventually you will.
Okay, let's do it all. Taxes 100%. Just give me your check right now.
All I know is overreaction is not the strategy for a long-term investor.
Thank goodness.
Neither is burying your head in the sand and hoping it all turns out for the best. So call our buddy Luke Nowacki, Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748 for rational financial advice. Where are you going to put your money now? Where's it going to be 6 months from now, 6 years? Stocks, bonds, 401ks, 529s, all those things. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Collectibles.
NTFs.
No.
Crypto? AJ Foyt whiskey bottles.
No, not that. Just collectibles.
Get advice. Get a strategy. Call Luke Nowacki, Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748.
And Luke will always make it about you. And
Securities and Investment Advisory Services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
There's another guy who'll save you a lot of money. He's not quite as good looking as Luke. Not that he's.
Luke
hideous.
looks very good in his picture right here.
Those dimples.
Not bad, Luke.
That's a guy you can trust your money to.
There you go.
You could turn those dimples into a bioswale. Or if you want to build a pumping station,
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
Channel the
Why are you
water
looking at
wherever
me
you
when
want.
you're saying that?
Because you hate the earth.
I don't. By the way,
you hate the earth. You're just like, I want you to tax everything 1,000,000% and build a big piece of concrete.
I did think did I misspeak? I meant to say cold patch, not soul patch. Did I say soul patch?
Yeah, you did say soul patch.
Soul patch is what Mike has on his chin. I'm sorry.
It is the soul of Detroit.
I was a little
patch.
confused.
Yeah. Cold. I meant cold patch.
Thank you.
I knew what you meant.
Now, what's a cold patch?
Thank you. You're here to correct me.
Cold patch is
You're on a
the aggregate stuff that the
they dump
guys
in.
dump into the hole and just put it down there real quick and maybe heat it a little bit and then off they go.
And then an hour later, I drive over and it shoots up into my wheel well.
Exactly.
Or it shoots out of your wheels and into my windshield and puts a nice crack into it.
And then a week later, you just the thump, right?
Because it's back to where it was.
So Sean is pro cold patch. I like that.
Sorry. Mark, you got to correct me with stuff like that.
You're rolling, man.
So
I'm not gonna stop you when you're on a roll.
So
damn it.
While Sean was taking us 5 minutes back for something that we could have just moved on from, David Hall Financial continues.
Are you sensing a theme here, Woody?
David Hall continues to keep rates low if you want to refinance. He supports all his shows on the Red Shovel Network, and he can support your network, your family, your cat, your plants, your cold patch. Rates are currently in the twos, so call today. You know what? If you give Luke Nowacki 5 beers, he'll get you 6 beers.
Exactly.
He can turn that 5 into a 6. I want that other beer, damn it. Okay, anyway, so David Hall, he'll save you a lot of money.
This week?
I'm taking next week off. Actually, no, next week we've got to introduce our NIL.
I wanted to ask you about that if you ever got done with this read.
Anyways, David Hall will save you a ton of money. Just call 248-308-5000. That's 248-308-5000. And check our website, and you'll find a link to Hall Financial. He will get you a good deal. You'll save money on the refi, and you'll save money every month afterwards. Enough money to buy a full 6-pack. NMLS 1467435. And he'll make it all about your sweethearts. Is that a different read?
Did you say you had sweet tarts?
Oh yes, we have sweet tarts.
I like a few.
And Smarties.
Now that
sweet tarts that nobody likes.
I wanted to get an update from ML because now that the NIL is a thing in college athletics, name, image, likeness, we're trying to sponsor somebody. This little show is trying to sponsor a collegiate athlete.
We have found someone.
Who do you have?
So we're going to do a big unveil next week. She's going to come into the show.
She. There you go. There's a hint.
Okay.
Yep. She's a lovely and talented young athlete at Michigan State.
Okay.
Of course.
She is in a sport that probably is not going to
volleyball.
Draw much. No. My wife said no volleyball player.
Okay.
Yeah. She said
I can understand.
Now, did
Continue.
Ronnie play volleyball?
No.
Ronnie looks like a volleyball.
Let's not talk about my wife on this podcast.
We have identified the athlete that embodies this show's
Field
ethos.
hockey?
No.
Okay. Soccer?
Rowing.
Rowing.
She's
Okay.
a rower.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
And she's a local kid, very smart, very talented in the media. So we are hoping to.
You'd be a good coxswain.
Let's not talk about my wife on this show.
Sorry, I was talking about rowing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
What did Vince Vaughn say? I'm a coxman. What can I say?
But you don't understand, Woody, how hard this has been to get him on board with NIL because he does not want college athletes to make any kind of money.
No, not any kind of money. I don't want them to be distracted from the game and their classes to be paid to play video games with a bunch of geeks.
Can we take a little minute for this? Because I agree with you, Emma.
Hey, what are you on every week?
I think that introducing money and all of this into college athletics will be the downfall of it. Because let's be honest, when you go to college, you're going there for an education, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you want to say that college is the minor leagues of football or baseball or basketball, you can also say that. But still, I enjoy the amateur aspect of college sports. I don't want to see, all of a sudden my star quarterback is making, six figures.
But I don't find it to be amateur anymore.
Now, do these guys deserve some of the money that comes in from the school? No doubt. Okay.
Absolutely.
But there's got to be a way to figure that out without cutting guys checks. You know what I mean?
But
it's got to be a way to blanket that, because I agree with what Chris Webber said back in the day when he couldn't even buy his own jersey or whatever.
If we believe that.
Now, he
if
lied.
we believe it, whatever, or a
Now
pizza,
he can't afford
Ed Martin
to
would
pay
have
back
bought it.
Ed
or a
Martin.
pizza or whatever. Okay. But there should be, an amount set aside for that.
But if I'm a regular student, I can go work anywhere and maximize my ability while I'm a student.
That's
I can
true.
maximize-
But you haven't been given a scholarship and tutoring and
You
nutrition.
don't know that. What if I had? What if I was
Well,
given a scholarship?
If you were given a scholarship, you could probably still do that. I mean, if you were given an academic scholarship or whatever, it's just that the sports scholarship seems to have restrictions on it. I mean,
But doesn't that make you a little bit ill watching all this money that comes in, and here you have a coach that makes $10 million or $9 million, and you have all these associate athletic directors that, their main, a lot of them is to raise money, fundraise.
that's
because
why
they are
that's why I say
nonprofit.
there's got to be a better way to disperse that. There has to be a better way. Now,
by paying them.
well, again, it becomes, put it this way. Okay. Say you're, say you have two kids or you have a kid in college. Okay. And, he's doing great with a sport or whatever, and he's getting whatever, paid. But his grades are terrible.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, do you want, somebody who's rich but dumb as a stump?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, so
I
what
don't
is
know. I
college
don't why.
for,
I
then?
don't think those two
What
are
is-
as connected
what-
as UNML think they are.
What does it become then?
That's the question,
Are you going
though,
to
Woody.
class?
That's the
I
question,
mean,
Woody.
I think you have to anyways.
What's
to
it
stay
for?
eligible?
Maybe we set it up where, you know what? It is minor league sports. So there is no class. You just go and you
have
work
the
it
G
that way.
League.
And you still have to, do your school or if you want to or whatever. So I could deal with that. But this student athlete / student athlete on the other side, that's where I got the problem. I need it to be either you're amateur or you're pro.
But
But they are pro.
They are pro. Here's
the money is
thing.
pro.
The way it's marketed is pro.
Everything about it, yeah, except them getting paid.
Except them
Everything
getting
about
paid.
it.
But they are getting handsomely compensated with the scholarships and all the support stuff. To say
But
that
not
these
to their
students
value.
are not getting
Exactly.
what's their value? What's the
their
third string
value?
long
Look,
snapper's
look, they're
value?
being-
But
they're
what
being
Joe Burrow's value?
They're being
or
compensated
value?
with stuff that they don't seem to want. Okay, which is the education and the other thing. They want the access, the status, to get paid. I'm number one in the draft.
But that
okay?
is a small percentage of most collegiate athletes. You're talking about revenue sports.
These guys who are signing these contracts now, the ones we talked about a couple of weeks ago, they're afterthoughts on these programs, and now they're chasing dollars. To me, you're gonna take Johnny Manziel, who is a complete dirtbag, And instead of saying we're gonna change the sport to get rid of the Johnny Manziels, they're changing the sport to say everybody can be a Johnny Manziel. That to me does not improve the quality of college sports.
Do you know how much money Johnny Manziel brought in for Texas A&M that he did not get to see?
So fine, then take that money and distribute it among all the students, or set something up, an annuity for these kids, so when they graduate, I've already talked about
to Johnny Manziel.
Why can't I spend the money the way I want to spend?
If Johnny Manziel wants to play professional football, he can go into the draft.
Yeah, no, he can't. He's got to go play 3 years of college football.
That's great. I'll change that rule then. Yeah, I'll take the hot shots out of college sports if that's what it's all about. I want to go see people who are playing for my college because they want to be a part of my college.
No, you shouldn't have the right to go see any of them. You just want club sports because they're actually going to be.
So now I'm banned
they're
from
actually going to be.
Now who's the dictator?
They're going to actually be students. They're going to be students. And they'll play a club sport, and you have no fucking business watching them.
You know what? I don't.
I don't
know if I would mind the club sport angle, because at that point, then I would take everyone who wants to be a pro and put them in a minor
like they
league
do in Europe,
for football,
because then it's
whatever.
not about y'all and your own entertainment. My quarterback, your rower, whatever. Then it's not about you. It's about them, and that's the whole problem here. It's not about them. It's about our entertainment, or I want to come back when I'm 50 years old and watch this 18-year-old.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Just make a minor leagues.
Exactly.
Just make a minor league for football.
Sure. Yeah.
Or basketball.
Go ahead. If that's what you want to do, go ahead.
Or hockey.
And you're going to
hockey
see,
has it
and you're going to see
now.
It does, yeah.
Hockey has it now with juniors and different levels, all that kind of stuff.
Baseball kind of does too. They kind of have it both ways. I mean, they have the minor leagues, but a lot of athletes choose to play collegiate baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, it can work. I just don't.
But I also know that a lot of kids, and especially black kids these days, go straight for the money. Okay, it's not like they're going to spend 6 years in the minors or that kind of thing. They want to get paid right away, which is why you see a lot in basketball and you see a lot in football. I mean, you don't see a lot of black kids today going into baseball.
No, it's a crisis in
Why
baseball.
is that, do you think?
I think it's because you're not getting paid quick enough.
Really?
I think so.
And there's 10 levels.
You got kids out there now who play in 11 college games and then go pro.
Yeah.
In basketball.
Sure.
When you see that, why should I go? Why should I spend a year and a half at Erie, or trying to get to Lakeland, or Lakeland trying to get to Erie, trying to get to Toledo?
To that point, look how many college basketball players and college football, the two main revenue sports, don't go pro. So shouldn't they maybe be compensated for those years they are playing in college for the money they're bringing into their university?
You know what? You can say that, but again, when you start taking somebody's money, it's like, I'm not letting you grab that pot of gold. You know what I mean? Stay away from my pot of gold here. I'm going to keep it over here so you can't even see it.
And that's why there's a fight. Because
that's why the fight
presidents,
is there.
the athletic directors, and all the associate athletic directors don't want to give that up. But it just, from an outsider looking at it, and you see the money explosion from the mid-'80s to now, from TV contracts, it's like you're building waterfalls.
You also get it on the other side. What about the kids who want to be doctors or lawyers or whatever, and are good football players or basketball players?
Sure.
You're telling me that they can't study that while they're in school because their basketball or football schedule is such that they can't deal with those classes?
They're limited, yeah.
I don't know if I like that either.
What, being limited on the hours of?
Yeah, well, just not being able to do what you want to do. So say you want to be a doctor, okay, but you're a great football player and the team, really needs you and you're the star quarterback or whatever, but, can you really be a doctor?
Well, look at, and I know this is anecdotal and it's one, but Aiden Hutchinson's dad played at Michigan. Was it Chris Hutchinson? And he's a doctor now. I mean, it can happen.
Did Jake Rudock end up going to medical school?
I keep thinking about Zach Zenner from the Lions, who was here for a while and had wanted to be a doctor. I don't know if he went back to get his degree or something like that.
Let's call Burkett.
Who's the chief? Tully Thomas. I mean, he skipped last year to go be a doctor in Canada.
Oh, right. The guy from Kansas City. So
you can do it if you want to.
You
and
can do it, I guess. Yeah, I guess.
I just see this money pouring in and being spent on things to maintain their nonprofit status of a university.
I think the one thing we can all agree on is there's so much money.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of money out there, okay?
Give it to the labor.
So rather than solve the problem of money is ruining sports, you want to put more money into it to destroy sports. So I understand that solution. But anyways.
What sport has been destroyed because of too much money?
basketball, football. I mean, this is insane what these coaches are being paid, and these kids.
Mark, help me, please.
They're not even. They come to campus for a season and then they're gone because it's all just about setting themselves up for the draft. And most of these guys are not going to make a living playing the sport.
You know what? It's hard, ML, because on the other hand, you can't fault a guy for wanting to go out. And
I understand. I'm just saying.
Do.
If you can get paid, go get paid.
But
if you want to play college sports, go play college sports.
I guess so.
Well, if you're so worried about their education,
college sports, it can lead you to. Listen, I'm not trying to tell kids how to live their lives. I'm just saying if you want to be involved in this particular entity, there are some rules, and you can either decide you want to follow these rules or not. I think of all the guys who probably played with Matt Ishbia, who was never going to go pro, who are probably now working with Matt Ishbia because they weren't going to go pro either, but they met a guy like Matt Ishbia. When you're on a team, especially a team with 100 guys, you're going to meet people, you're going to make connections. One of the most important parts about going to college are the experiences you have, the people you meet, the connections you make, and what they mean for the rest of your life. And if you're basically just saying, go to college, play on this team, make as much money as you can, and good luck to you, sir.
I can't see over this.
I don't think
But I've conceded all this. We're going to we're going to sponsor a kid. What the hell do you guys want?
Mark.
Even when you win, you're assholes.
I can't see over that monitor there. Is there a press release from the NCAA you're reading off of?
I can see, and there isn't.
Oh, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. There's something on the other side. Can you see that now?
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Very lively here, gentlemen.
That's thanks to you.
Here in the basement. It's very lively.
We're gonna have a big reveal next week, so you're gonna wanna.
Really?
I want to tune in for that. Yes, we're going to introduce our athlete.
Right. The rower.
Make me take my shirt off.
We are going to present. We're going to present our athlete with some swag to help promote our show as we promote her. And I think live on the air, we're going to negotiate the compensation because we haven't figured that out yet.
I thought you didn't want to tell anybody what to do.
Okay.
We're going to negotiate. I'm not telling. I'm going to tell somebody what I think is in their best interest, and they're going to negotiate in their best interest. And then you guys are just going to say, "I'm fixing to give you 5 Shiner box."
We're looking at
I promise you 6.
It always comes back to the. I'm surprised he hadn't been, doing the French thing because normally, if that little ding happens to him early in the show, then you hear it throughout.
Je veux te donner 6 Shiner box.
And he's only brought the French back
once. 5.
Now twice.
There you go. You got it in French.
All right, who's the geek of the week? Is it me?
Too easy. And you know who else is too easy? Billionaires who go into space. Way too easy.
I agree.
Purely geeks. So we're going to let them go.
They got a lot of money.
Too much money.
Way too much money.
If you think you've got too much money, you're
Give it to
either
athletes.
Nick Saban or a billionaire who wants to go into space.
Or your employees.
So, by the way, before he goes into space and figures out how to breach the Earth's perimeter,
he's already been there and back.
Yeah, has he figured out how to air condition the warehouses where his workers are slaving away for less than $15 an hour?
Now we're talking.
So there you go.
Now we're talking.
But we're moving on. The geek of the week is not these billionaires going into space, but a guy who competed and won an auction. He paid $28 million for the privilege of going into space with Jeff Bezos on Blue Origin. But when they said, you're the winner, thank you for the $28 million. We are going into space on July 20th. He's like, I kind of got a conflict.
What?
Yeah. The guy who won the auction did not go into space today because he had a scheduling conflict.
What was it?
What was the conflict?
We don't know who the guy is. He won't say who he is. He's hiding out. He won't tell us what the conflict is. But he looked at his calendar. He said, "Oh shit! You know what? I'm having my prostate exam."
Some people got too much money. Some people have too much money. I'm telling you.
Is that the guy that sent his kid?
No. So when
that's the
when
second
this guy
place?
didn't go, another rich dude, his kid, who's like an 18-year-old physics student.
Yeah.
This other rich dude said, my kid will go. I think he was next up. I don't know if he was the second highest bidder or not, but I think he was on the second flight and they moved him on to the first flight. But anyways, guy who bid $28 million to go into space, but then realized you had something else on that date. And so you couldn't go into space.
It better be worth $28 million. The other thing that's,
he
that's there.
He probably made $29 million today.
Yeah. So, dude, anonymous guy who's smart to keep his name anonymous because we would go clown the hell out of you. You're our geek of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
See you guys.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
You all right over there?
Well, when you have Woody Woodruff on your show to talk about the Tour de France, even though the whole idea with Room 7609, I know you listening know this. I'm saying this for the benefit of Sean Windsor, is to pick a great new wave band and to pull something obscure from their catalog that people may not have heard, that they might appreciate if they heard it, and to play it for them, or to find a new wave band that somehow didn't get the due that they were due in their day, and to put them on this magnificent platform we have. But we're making an exception because Woody's here to talk about the Tour de France.
Oh,
so here's Kraftwerk with Tour de France.
d'Azur et Saint-Tropez, Tour de France, Alpes et les Pyrénées, Tour de France, dernière étape Champs-Élysées, Tour de France, pédaler en grand braquet, Tour de France, sprint final à l'arrivée, Tour de France,
Yeah, that's right.
Sean is back just in time to join our discussion about Kraftwerk, which translates as Power Station, a German band formed in Dusseldorf in 1970. So kind of pre-wave as opposed to new wave. But
you broke your own rules. By the way, Drew wanted to know. I walked up and he said, "How was the show?" And I said, "Oh, we're doing fine. What's great? Woody's here. You're still going."
Yeah. Still going.
So,
right. So that's cool. Room 7609. Sean says we're done.
I'm just passing on word from high above.
Why is it room 7609?
Because in Duran Duran's Late Bar, which is one of the great Duran Duran songs that no one really knows,
right?
there's an all-night party in room 7609. So every week we invite somebody to join us. We book a guest in room 7609.
Thank you.
And this week it was Kraftwerk. And
thank you very much.
I don't know if I can say anything more about
And
that.
a month ago, it was the Talking Heads.
Oh.
Do you approve of that, Woody?
That was Sean.
A month ago?
The Talking Heads in general.
I got no problem with them.
Okay. Interesting.
I have a very wide musical palette.
ML had a problem with it.
No, we've played the Talking Heads before on the show, but we played a song that the Talking Heads did that not everyone has heard because everybody's already heard all the other stuff, which at one time was kind of cutting edge, but they've kind of become, I think, vanilla. I just don't think of the Talking Heads anymore as this.
Well, see, but that's the whole thing. You have to see these bands in their heyday.
Yeah.
You can't go see the Talking Heads now.
It is relative. That's
right.
not really
You
a word
must-
somebody who sees the world black and white thinks of. There's no such relativity as a sort of foreign concept. You know what I mean?
Well, sometimes it can be, but with music, sometimes it has to be the control factor. You know, like when did you see them?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, if they're if you saw Kraftwerk in 1970 Dusseldorf, you'd be like, who are these geeks with the calculators? And now they're about to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Or waiting for Devo.
If you saw, exactly. If you saw Devo on day one,
yeah,
like, what the heck?
And then you see him now, you're like, look at these old guys. What the hell?
I still think their music seems more fresh and edgy than the Talking Heads music. I think the Talking Heads they just don't have that. When I listen to them now, I don't think to myself, oh, wow, I've never heard anything like that before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tribute to them that people have kind of moved in their direction. But Devo is just always going to be gratuitously
I would agree with that.
weird.
Mark Mothersbaugh was ahead of his time. Same with, what's his name from Oingo Boingo, Danny Elfman.
Oingo Boingo. Yeah. Mike was more of a Men at Work kind of guy.
I do have the Men at Work album, but we've played Oingo Boingo on this.
We did.
Just Another Day.
I like
Isn't
Oingo
that
Boingo.
the Ferris Bueller? Isn't that Oingo Boingo?
Oingo Boingo?
At the end of Ferris
They
Bueller?
performed on Back to School. Or
is that not
Back
Oingo
to School?
Back to School.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
They were the.
Yes.
Was that not? Maybe that's somebody else.
I think it was Dead Man's Party, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting. You mentioned both Elfman and Mothersbaugh, who are huge in the world of movies and film and doing
They
soundtracks.
branched out to their own things. And,
I mean, they are the two trendsetters there by a mile.
Totally agree.
Another underappreciated bit part was Robert Downey Jr. in Back to School.
Yeah. God, movie's so great.
He said aggressive ground acquisition games when he was referring to football.
Yeah. Weren't they chasing him? He had a helmet in his hand at that point, I think, in the movie.
I think they were trying to crash a party, and maybe what was it? William Zabka, the bad guy from.
He's always the bad guy.
He's always the bad guy.
Back then, yeah.
Except
it's always the feather part in the middle. That always gives it away in that era, right? The blonde.
Oh yeah.
If you're blonde and you part it down the middle.
Although
if it's brown and you part it down the middle, you're okay. But if it's blonde and you feather it down the middle, you're an asshole.
He did redeem himself in How I Met Your Mother, where he made several cameos as the poet William Zabka.
Again, I'm not a fan of How I Met Your Mother.
You know who else hates it from Fox 2?
I didn't say hate.
Oh,
I just really don't watch it. It's
Sherry Margolis.
Oh,
one time she and I were talking. I thought Sherry's so cool, and she is really cool.
Yeah, tell us about it.
And then she said, you know, when I knew that there wasn't that much good stuff on TV, and I'm like, I don't think there's a lot of good stuff on TV. Then she goes, when I saw How I Met Your Mother, it's like, that's one of my favorite shows. I said, Sherry, I think I got to get on the set. So I kind of slunk away. But other than that, Sherry is right on. So that was room 7609. We need to raise a little money to pay our athletes, so we encourage you to donate. Last month, all of our receipts went to Crossroads of Detroit. Between what you donated and my match, we donated $187.20 to Crossroads. You can go to our website to see how to make your own donation if you missed that opportunity.
Can I just leave cash here?
As long as it's not a political contribution.
No, it would be like for merchandise or whatever.
Yeah, no, we are now selling. Part of our buy-in is we now have a promotion where we're selling 5 beer Altus 6-packs. So it's part of a special deal with Altus beer, which you can find in full quantities at Meijer and other.
Speaking of Altus, it's the only beer he's given me, of course, because he doesn't have to pay for it.
He gets it for free. Yeah.
Exactly.
They're sponsor of the show.
So,
In fact, I brought some Altus for you.
So
you know what? When you look at that 12-pack, you know what it's going to have in it?
What?
12 beers!
What's more expensive?
That's how it works!
What's more expensive? 5 beers
when
you pay
leave
for.
5 beers, you bought a 6-pack for yourself and only drank 1. That's not a 6-pack for me. That's leaving your shit in my car. Let's call it what it is. I'm sorry. I've been waiting 2 weeks to say that.
What's more expensive? 5 beers you buy yourself or 12 beers somebody hands you and you pass on? You re-gift me beer, motherfucker.
That's true.
That's what you're doing. I bought those beers.
I'm not going to complain, though.
I used the money you paid me for last year for this podcast, and I bought those 5 beers.
That's all you could buy.
Wait a minute. So you used my money to buy me 5 beers and promise
all you could afford?
Okay, we'll never get out of this show. Okay,
You mean you get paid for this?
there's a nominal. There's nominal remuneration.
Couple of bucks here and there.
Yes. Okay, and then you can donate at mlsolardetroit.com. There's a donate button, or you can go to drewandmikestore.com and buy our hoodies, long sleeve t-shirts, beanies, hockey jerseys, all kinds of good stuff. Mask gaiters, keychains, t-shirts, stickers, and the unsoaked Kwame Sutras that I still own. Most of them were destroyed in the flood. 2,000 copies on the curb.
Oh, man.
It's a good write-off.
Very, very, very disappointing. We're going to try and rip through feedback. We have 2 people who have some really, really good stuff to talk about. So we're going to wait till next week because we're running out of time. We have some very relevant and timely comments.
Well, Blake's comment I thought was pretty on point.
Phil from Plymouth posts, "Hi guys, just wanted to drop a note to say how much I enjoyed the July 13th show. It really had a good flow to it. I can't put my finger on why this show stood above the rest. Great conversation, no bad jokes, no humble brags, even a good song from 7, 6, and 9. I actually didn't have to fast forward past the song for once.
Oh, Phil, come on.
Keep up the good work, gents."
Hitting them where it hurts.
So that's Phil. Apparently,
that was the show ML could not be here for.
It was just me and Mark. Woody.
Oh.
Hey, look, man, if he can't make it, call me.
Well, I'm going to now.
Guys. I'll come in and sit with you
Are you suggesting that that's what Phil couldn't put his finger on, that I was not available?
No.
It seemed like that. Anyways,
just want to keep your spirits up.
Anyways, my former.
You're doing great, man. You're doing great.
Thank you. It's I appreciate your support.
I pulled an El Ricky in. I brought you a beer. I took one. I thought that's something you would do, and you've been waiting 2 weeks to get on me about it.
My former friend Blake offers this succinct assessment of last week's episode. Best podcast in a while.
Thank you, Blake.
Thanks, Blake.
Thank you, Blake. But that's not. We need Mike.
So I'm above it, man.
What about the new wave Dave suggests?
Well, he suggests we play the Smithereens to satisfy Sean's lust for American new wave. And of course, we did play the Smithereens. And I remember Sean saying, "That ain't new wave, that's rock and roll."
That doesn't sound like anything Sean would say.
Well, it's I probably said that
Smithereens, right? Only in memory.
I probably said that wasn't Blood and Roses, right?
That's Smithereens too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blood and Roses. Yeah.
Girl Like You.
Yeah, Girl Like You.
I didn't love a girl like you, but I did like Blood and Roses.
You know who is?
If you go back and listen to it now, it's thin. It sounds a little tinny and thin, and
I like it. And you know who's
More
filling
nostalgic.
in for
It is rock and rolly though.
their dearly departed lead singer. Well, they're from Jersey. They can't get away from
Right,
it.
yeah.
But Marshall Crenshaw fills in for their lead singer since he died.
He does?
Yeah. So
Someday, some way.
Michigan's own.
Right at Berkeley.
Okay.
what's the big reveal, by the way? Are Mark and I taking our shirts off?
No, that's our NIL sponsor.
And then see who jiggles
our
more?
our sponsored athlete. Please be a gentleman when she's here in studio.
Who jiggles more? Oh,
Couple quick notes. Caju Cafe on July 26th. You can catch the King's English, who will be headlining my next campaign fundraiser. We will be doing some political talk, some Q&A, and the King's English will perform at 7 o'clock. You can find out how to participate in that on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. If you're hearing this show today on the 20th of July, I will be at Chandler Park on July 21st. That's Wednesday, talking politics, listening to folks' suggestions for how we make life better in Detroit together.
Who's the headliner?
The people.
Okay.
The people. And if you miss all that, we're going to have a big get out the vote rally at the 4-H Park on McClellan, just down the street from the Vigilantes. I have an interesting story about my encounter with the Vigilantes, but we'll save that for a time when Sean's not here. He'll be like, more about you and the Vigilantes. And that will be on July 31st. And we will have live music performed by my good friends.
Yeah.
We'll be telling you more about later. It's called a tease in the TV business.
Or did you forget?
No.
Oh, okay.
The awards.
Congratulations, by the way, because you picked up what I thought was a pretty big endorsement from the Detroit News.
The best editorial page in the city saw fit to endorse my candidacy.
They wouldn't. Free Press backed out in the worst way possible. I thought, in my opinion. You don't have to comment, Sean.
Although
why do I work for the Free Press?
Yes, you do.
Even
I just thought it was really weak of them to not make a decision for ML's district because he worked for them on 3 separate tours.
I think it's 5, but they made a decision. I was the best candidate, and they didn't have the courage to say it because
if you weren't, they
didn't want to be criticized.
They would have picked anybody else if they.
From the email exchange I had with their editorial board, it's clear that they prepared to endorse, but they decided they didn't want to take the heat. So that's
weak. But the Detroit News, no problem.
Detroit News, fantastic.
Congratulations.
I subscribe to both papers. I encourage everybody to subscribe to debtnews.com. And if you got a few coins left over, you can subscribe to the Free Press so we don't have to support Sean Windsor full time. That means I'll get 2 beers.
Can you believe this, Woody?
If he's living off a podcast.
Well, you know what, Sean? I'm thinking you must have an athetic scholarship then. If you're making money that way, then, right?
That's right. Tiddlywinks.
That must be it.
Mick
right?
McCabe always did tell me I was on scholarship.
Definitely. Yes. And let's see, what else we're going to say. And also, actually, my first journalism job was with the Detroit News. I was a paper boy for 3 years. So it's good. It's good that they didn't disqualify me based on our long relationship because it was even longer.
You've come full circle.
No, I don't deliver the paper yet, but I may.
Look, you know what? Let's just have everyone do random acts of kindness so that Phil comes back. Okay.
Oh God.
Yes.
Just a few random acts of kindness.
I don't want
please.
him back.
Yeah, and let's not mess up what's that guy's name, Brand, who was bitching about it last time. The Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh yeah.
He was hitting the big balls, and then
we're talking about golf, people.
Listeners.
Yeah.
If you would like to
was at the
find
Rocket
out
Mortgage Classic.
What's going on with the campaign, you can follow us on social media at ML4Detroit on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's ML4Detroit. You can go to our website to volunteer or donate. That's ML4Detroit.com. I was going to ask what Sean is up to, but I don't care now. So I think we're just going to say, Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
20th Century Fox presents
The Soul of Detroit.
The story of 4 guys in imminent danger of
podcasting.
How you doing, guys?
Well, we're a little disturbed by the developments in the Middle East, but
who refuse to give up immaturity without a fight.
Smart move, Shorty.
I'll tell him he either has to get a job or go to college.
Hell, I don't want to go to college, Dad. To hell with them.
What, are you afraid?
Yeah. A little bit.
The only thing I'm afraid of is wasting the rest of my life with you guys.
I thought that was the whole plan. That we were going to waste the rest of our lives together.